All right, everybody, welcome back. It is time to elevate here with Stephen Young. We're talking about real estate and investing, and we're talking about analyzing deals. We just closed a deal. We're going to get into that here in a second, but before we do, I just want to make sure that you are all doing safe. You're staying home, you're staying smart, and you're not going out. Today, I'm just happen to be in the office a very short period of time. We just closed a property today. We closed a property last week as well. I didn't have a choice but to come into the office, unfortunately. But that's what we're doing today. So I wanted to go over what we sold last week, what we bought this week, and why moving forward. I want to keep going over the deals just so you're aware of what we're doing. So last week, our closing. We talked about this property. We've given you tours through the last couple weeks. You can't really see it here, but let me see. I'll do my best. We didn't have a check, so we had such a close little turnaround time this week that the lawyer actually didn't write us a check. They just kept the money and rolled the money into the new deal because of what was going on with COVID-19. We didn't want to go to the banks and all that stuff. So this is what the balance of the deal was. You can see that. Probably can't. $333,371.20, which doesn't include the debt owed to us from the brokerage, which is $27,000. Total about $360,000 profit on that deal. Not profit, but total investment, but the return was quite healthy. Here's a whiteboard to help you out. I'm going to go through these numbers here real quick with you. So on my left, right, I don't know what that is, but anyways, the black writing here. So this is a property we just did. We closed it last week during the crisis. We didn't have a choice. The buyer purchased it back in February, I think it was. And they closed it in March. We finished it. It didn't even go to market, actually, this deal. The buyer knew who we were. They wanted to be in the building. They wanted to make sure. Hey, everybody, we're on Instagram Live, too. I see you. Shout out to everybody. If you're watching us, follow us on YouTube, Young Realty Inc. as well. Go to our website, youngrealty.ca. Follow us on YouTube. All this video is going to be recorded. We're recording quite a lot of these. So that's my little plug of following us and call to action. Okay, so the black writing here. So what we did, we sold the property for $1,155,000. It was an off-market deal. The buyer saw the property before it was being finished. They saw another property that we did in the building. They didn't get the property. They wanted to buy from us. They saw what we were doing, and they went ahead and purchased this one before he went to the market. So it's a win-win. It's a really good, sweetheart deal. We paid $745 for it in December, closed it December. It was ready 6 weeks later, just the end of January. They bought it in the first week of February, and they closed it just last week, despite what was going on in the marketplace. So the delta on that, delta is just what we paid for it versus what we sold. It was $410,000. The closing cost on the sale, with legal fees, mortgage disbursements, some carrying costs, taxes, commissions, total all in was about $49,257.55. So I got a check from the lawyer for $360,000, $742.45. So that is the total. The breakdown of that was what you saw here on the statement of adjustments is $333,371.20 plus there's a balance from their deposit after commissions are paid out was $27,000 change. So the total I got from this deal was $367.42.45. Now, part of that was the breakdown of the construction cost. Now, most of the time I do these deals, I do them 100% financing, and we can get into that in another video. The 100% financing works very simply. We put 80% mortgage on the principal property. The secondary property is usually lent on another property we own, which gives us the balance to purchase it at $745. A lot of the time, we get that second mortgage at a higher valuation. We have lots of properties where we're at 40% loan to value, 50% loan to value, and our lenders will give us the balance plus construction costs of $121. We didn't do it in this case just because I had the cash. I didn't have another project to deploy to, so I just used it. I saved some money on the mortgage financing, and so we don't have to spend the money that way. So my total investment was $121,250.95. So the breakdown of that, the gross profit was $239,491.50. Divide that by my actual cash-on-cash investment, $121. You can't really see that. It's hard to see here. Anyways, the total return on that was $197. 197% cash on cash return, which to me is a pretty good investment. I'm not sure what your thoughts are out there. If you guys think almost a 200% return in 6 weeks is pretty good on your investment. I've doubled the money in my investment, 121, for a total of 239, 491. So what do I do? The big question always is, what do I do with my profits? We did a podcast, followmetomillions.com is our podcast. Not too long ago, we talked about what we do with the profits. What I personally do with the profits, I redeploy it into mortgage lending and I redeploy it back into rental properties, which we're going to really briefly talk about this new deal here in Kitchener, Waterloo. It's an 18-unit rental property. It's $5.7 million. This is where you need to get into yourself if you're watching me. So take this. This is a full-time job. This is a good gig. It's a high-paying job. $239,000 every few weeks is a pretty good paying job. Take those profits, build up the cash, stack up your cash, and then purchase these long-term rental properties. This stuff, the flipping property, we can do with 100% financing. So I'm never concerned about the money we have for these properties, just like you shouldn't be concerned of either. Where you really want to deploy cash is into these real investments. This is real estate. I call this stuff fake real estate. Anything like pre-construction condos, single-family home rentals, single-family condo rentals, anything outside of the commercial world really is fake real estate. It's not real estate. So there's a difference between real estate and fake estate. Fake estate is what everybody you see online talking about. Buy a single-family home to rent, all these weekend warrior boot camps. All that's fake estate. Most of those people do not make real money. They don't make this kind of money, that's for sure. I know that for a fact. We just want to give you free information. We have nothing to sell. I just want to show you and share you my journey, and we're going from there. So what we're analyzing is another deal today for you based on these numbers. So if in this building we've done 11 properties, so you do the mathematics on 11 times 239, it's a pretty profitable building for us. We've been there for a couple of years. We keep doing more and more properties. As people get to know us, they just generate more and more business for us. When it gets to the property we're looking at right now, so the same properties in the building currently on the market, been sitting there for now 2 months. It's about to expire. We gave them an offer the first week it went to market. And reason why we were so fast to act, because we know our numbers inside and out. Most people don't have that ability to get the numbers in. They overanalyze, and what they tend to do is they run into trouble because they're overanalyzing the deal. So what we look for, we break it down very, very simply. If we purchase something for $745 or whatever the number is, it's irrelevant. We look for a 10% profit margin. So on this deal that we purchased, our target was $74,500 was the target. I ended up making 3 times that, which I'm very happy with, obviously. But if I got the $74,000, I'd be just as happy with that. So we're looking at other deals. But before we get to that deal, just a reminder, go to our website again, youngrealty.ca. Sign up for our podcast, followmetomillions.com. It's a great podcast. We're starting to interview more celebrity guests because people are getting sick of listening to me, I think. But if not, I'm happy to join you. I'm happy to have you, and I really appreciate everybody who's on here right now. I'm just trying to look at Instagram. Trying to do this 2-camera thing. It's difficult. Hey, Chad, I see you. Wave, Boss Real Estate. I see you guys out there. Hope you guys are enjoying this so far in this terrible events that are going on in today. But if we're all on our phones, if we're all isolated, why not learn something? So the next deal we're looking at is currently on the market. Anybody can go and get this property, but it's overpriced. They're wanting $899. When they first hit the market, they were at $950. If you can imagine, $950. So $200,000 more than what I paid on the identical unit. So they'll never get that valuation. And sure enough, the market's telling me 2 months. This is pre-COVID-19. 2 months when a market, these properties are selling in 1 week, 2 weeks. It's very telling that they're wrong on something. Okay, so when it gets down to the new deal, so $899. So if you look at the right side of the screen, it might be your left, I'm not sure. The red writing. Okay, so if you can get the same property I just did for $800,000, let's say, So then your target would be $80,000 profit. So it gets harder and harder to make the 10% rule. The 10% allows you the green light. It allows you the, yes, I'm going to buy this, or no, I'm not going to buy something. It's very quick and easy mathematics to get through the properties very quickly. So for example, this, let's say everything else was the same. I sold it for the same price. I constructed it for the same price. Everything else being the same, but the acquisition price is different. This back end valuation allows me to buy for the higher front end price. So when you come across a seller who's being silly in their valuation, they're very difficult in the negotiation, as long as you know your numbers and you still hit 10%, then it's still a green light. For example, if we bought this, let's say they agreed to $800,000. Okay, so they took $100,000 off, which is highly unlikely. But let's say they do. Okay, so the $239.49, $491.50 would be the profit. That wouldn't change. But we'd have to take off the $65,000 of difference of purchase price. So that takes your profit down to $174,491.50 divided by your original cash on your investment of construction costs and carrying costs, which is $121,250. It still gives you a cash on cash return of 143%. So it's not quite 200%, but it's still a fantastic return on your investment. So if you know the back end numbers, you can play with the front end number and the acquisition cost to still hit your 10% and still be profitable. You can go as low as or as high as $850 on this deal and hit your 10% margins. Okay. Here's the problem. So if you can see this at the bottom of the screen here, if you give them full asking price, let's say $899, and you take off the original profit from the difference of just the purchase price of $165, you're only left with a profit of $74,000. The problem with $74,000, that is not 10% of $900,000. It's about 6%, 6 or 7%. So it would be would not be a green light for me. And for you guys watching, I really hope you wouldn't buy that either, because $74,000 may seem like. That being said, that's why you never give someone. That's why you always make your money in the purchase. You may have heard me say that. You may have heard other people say that. If you can see behind me, these are all properties we've done before. If you're on this wall, you're in that sort of $200,000 range. Otherwise, you don't make the wall. So now, what do I do with the profits? So we talked about what we just did. We talked about what I just purchased. Sorry, no, that was what I want to purchase, what you should purchase as well. We just purchased a property. Where's my pen? For $890 in the same building, same unit. So you're saying, why? I just said don't buy, but I just bought something for $890. Why the heck would I do that? I'll tell you here in a second. So I just bought for $890, same bit. That's what we just closed yesterday. Actually, today, Monday? Yeah, I think this is Monday. We just paid $890 for the property. Now, why would I buy the exact same property, exact same building, but for $150,000 more? Because the back end value is going to be about $100,000 more. So instead of 1,155, realistically, I'm going to sell for 1.25. Why is that? Well, it's a penthouse. It's got high ceilings. It's got multiple parking spots. It's desirable. The views you can see to the lake. This thing's incredible. These units were on the low floors. They didn't have a view, one parking spot. So I'm actually going to sell this one for much higher. It's very desirable. The last time a penthouse sold about 6 years ago. These other units, they transact quite often, but the penthouses, there's only 6 of them. And they're very hard to come by, especially this size, and it's the desirable view. The other one is on the other side of the building. Doesn't quite have the same view. So I know I'm going to get the premium for this unit. So the delta on that is going to be $360. Delta, my cost is going to be about $120. It's actually going to be less, actually. The other one, we had a lot of plumbing issues to do. Oops. It's going to be $115 on this one. Minus closing costs. What's the total on that? This is $245, $250. Let's say it's $200,000 profit on this one. So $200,000 divided by my investment of $115. It's a good return. It's probably about it's same. It's a little bit less than. It's probably 174%, something like that. I think I don't have my calculator on me. I'm just trying to do this in my head, but so I'm happy with this return. Again, I know the back end value. I know what I bought it for. I just paid for $890 for the thing. I know my carrying costs and closing costs. It's 100% financed. I could have got the construction financing, but I chose not to. In this market, you want to stay fairly heavy on the cash, just because cash is king sort of in these tight markets, these financial markets. We had in 2007, we had the financial crisis, and that was a rough time. I was in real estate, but that was one of my best years ever. The reason why it was my best year ever, I had cash on hand, and I knew the opportunities were there, and I was quick to act. One of the things we did last week was some of the profits, by the way, which I spoke about in the podcast. Again, go and sign up to the podcast. It's really cool. Follow me into millions.com. We just loaned, I can't show you some of the details here, kind of private personal information. But I lent out a mortgage for $65,000. Actually, $67,000 is what it was. So part of that $239,000 of profits, I deployed a mortgage of $67,000 to a person who sold their property, but bought another property, needed the bridge financing, and they went to the bank, and the bank's like, look, the financial markets are in turmoil. We're not giving you bridge financing. You don't qualify under our rules for bridge financing. So they came to me, and my broker who does a lot of the financing, he came to me and said, can you do it? Short term, I said, absolutely. And why do those numbers work out? Well, on 60, I'll show you real quickly why I do mortgage lending with the profits, because not only do I do rental properties, which is all about cash flow, this is no different. So on $67,000 mortgage, it's loaned out at 11%, short term, high risk. It's not cheap money, right? So it's 11%. So I get a check for $600 for the next 3 months. Right, so 6, 6, and 6. So I get a check for $1,800. Now, what happens in the private lending side on $67,000 is they have to pay for my legal costs, they have to pay for appraisals, they have to pay for broker costs. Everything comes out of the 67. So what I actually gave them was a check for 63 and change. I don't know what it was, 63.5 or something like that. Let's just say it's 63 for easy mathematics. So what I get in 3 months is $1,800 plus on when they redeploy the mortgage, they pay out $67,000. That's what they're paying on. So I get the delta there, which is $4,000. Plus they give me a lending fee up front, which is I think it was like $600 as well. I think so. So total there is plus another 6. So 58 plus 6 is 6,400. So I get $6,400 on a $63,000 investment in 3 months. So everyone's like, well, that's 10% annualized. No, that's 10% for 3 months. You multiply it by 4, that's a 40% yield. If I annualize that, if you could see that, and yes, that is what I do. So every 3 months or every 4 months, these money goes out and gets deployed, and that's why you lend money on real estate transactions, private money. So what you do is you do short-term flips. It's high profit if you do it properly. And we're going to teach you more and more about that moving forward. And when I get the profits, I then look and analyze properties like this. It's really hard to see. It's really small writing. Anyways, it's an 18-unit building. It's $5.7 million. Hard to finance at 100% financing. So my money comes into and goes into this stuff and goes into mortgage lending. And that's what we do here at Young Realty and Young Realty Capital and Young Realty Developments and Investments and all the companies that I own. And I hope you do the same thing. So that, I hope, gave you a few minutes of education and some fun time today. And that's it for today. Hope to all see you back next week. I'll try to do this every Monday, and we'll keep going from there and knocking it out of the park. So if you have any questions, email us, info@youngrealty.ca. If you have a deal you want us to analyze, we're happy to do that for you. If you have questions, concerns, anything, just check us out. We're happy to follow you and go from there.